Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Herman Petrick. He is a internationally renowned energy healer dedicated to helping individuals and businesses transform their lives by uh, clearing negative energy and fostering a positive environment. And we'll learn from him about his from his decade over a decade of experience in clearings and spiritual guidance. We'll learn from him practical methods to remove unwanted energies from your environment, release anxiety without medication, improve sleep, and reconnect with your authentic self. Welcome to the show, Herman.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Herman, welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about energy healing. We'll talk about inner balance. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Sure. So I grew up in the United States in Portland, Oregon. Grew up in a working class family, very Christian-based family. So my background, going to church and having a good understanding of, the Bible. The work that I do isn't really religious. It's about energy. I discovered my gift in my early 40s while living in New Zealand. I was there and discovered that I had this ability to remove unwanted energies. It started with a friend's house that she was having some pretty good problems with, and it just instinctively came to me to tell these energies to leave. But just probably prior to that, a few years prior to that, I started to really work on myself to kind of work on my inner balance. And I looked at a lot of different philosophies and religions. And one of the ones that really resonated with me was when I was really looking into Hinduism and the energies of the body, the chakra system and how they work and how they regulate, the energy flow. And I started really paying attention to the energies of my body and then the energies around us. And then a few years later, I discovered I had this gift. And it started from later in life. And it literally came out of nowhere. I didn't expect this to be something that I was meant to be doing. But when I started doing it, it came with such ease that I realized that this is a life purpose for me, not like a job here, but like a life purpose. And I started working with a few friends to start off with, and then started getting clients. And it's been nearly 15 years later, and here I am still doing the same work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Doing a lot of good work. So, Herman, to understand this better, energy, help us understand when people hear about this energy healing, but to understand from your point of view, what is this energy all about? Is energy from outside in the environment, or is it about our energy? We are the problems. We create that. That is why people talk about a negative aura or a positive aura.
Yeah, and so in my viewpoint, everything is energy, right? So energy is energy, and it's within us. We're our own energy, and then there's energies out in the environment. Now, we can call them negative, we can call them positive, whatever we want, but when you look at through all of time, ever since there's been, religion and philosophies, there's always been a nemesis for us humans. Like there's, demonic energy with that talks about in the Bible, and then with the jinn, with the Muslim, and so on and so forth. Every religion has a darker side. And a lot of people don't really pay attention to it because sometimes it's very subtle. But I don't really go into the details of all of these different types of energies and debating what they are and where they're from. I just view them as energetic parasites. And so if you think of yourself as you have your own energy, and you can call it what you want. You can call it your soul or whatever. But when we have energies all around us, there's these parasites that attach to us when we're weak energetically, and everyone goes through weak times in their life. So if, let's say you're worn down, or you're not getting enough sleep, or just life has worn you down, your energy is really low. And when your energy is really low, these energetic parasites then attach to our own energy, and they're literally parasites feeding on our thoughts and our emotions. And they're really manipulating our thoughts and our emotions. And the reason they manipulate the thoughts and the emotions is they try to create fear and anxiety, because fear and anxiety is like an energy for them. It's like their food, and so when we have these energetic parasites and they're slowly manipulating our thoughts and emotions, they create situations where we have a lot of fear or we have a lot of anxiety. And so simply what my work is about helping people connect to their true authentic self. And how we get there, from my point of view, is clearing all of the energetic parasites out of the way, and then working on that person internally to get things flowing how they should. Because, we all have these blockages in our bodies, and things aren't flowing how they should. And so by clearing the energies, hitting the reset button, so to speak, on your energy, it just helps you connect to who you truly are. And so that's really the basics of my work. But from an energy standpoint, it's very, these things are very manipulative, and they start out very subtle, and just builds over the months or the years or the decades. And they manifest themselves in several different ways, through the anxiety, through the depression, through nightmares, through physical issues, because they've created energy blocks in our system. So to me, everything is energy. And if we work on ourselves and work on our own inner balance, then it's harder for those parasites to attach to us and then manipulate us.
Absolutely, Herman. Well explained. We'll come to the true self part also. But let me ask you this way. When you talk about clearing negative energy and fostering a positive environment, what is this clearing negative energy? Does that mean clearing negative people around you? Does that also mean something else? How does this positive environment come? Does it come from outside, or does it come from inside? From a common person's perspective, even from a simple business perspective.
It comes from within. 100% comes from within, but the outside influences in our environment can make an impact on how we feel. And a lot of us could be in a very negative or toxic environment and overcome it because we're constantly working on our inner balance. And when I talk about inner balance, it's not just one thing. It's, mind, body, spirit, or mind, body, soul. It's, taking time for yourself. I like to take time and just breathe and shut off my mind and try to just connect that way. But then it also comes down to our daily habits, what we're doing for our body, what fuel, what are we eating? Are we exercising? Do we feel like we have a purpose? Are we engaging? And so there's a lot of factors. It's hard to say one thing's a factor, but 100% everything should come from within, but the environment can play a role, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. What's the role of generational trauma, childhood trauma, inner child, as many people call it? Help us understand from that point of view and the connection with energy.
Yeah, so trauma is real, and childhood trauma is a big deal. And as a parent, we would like to think that we've sheltered our kids from having these traumatic experiences, but trauma to little ones could come in many different forms, and then the parents don't even know there's trauma. So, and trauma plays a big role, because when someone has that trauma, they're closing themselves down. They're putting a protective barrier around themselves, so they're not really reaching their potential, because it's kind of like a turtle going into its shell. It's hard for them to come back out of that trauma. And the best way to release that is, working on yourself and letting things go. And it's easy for me to sit here and say you need to let go of this trauma, but sometimes I want you to think about it like this. If someone's holding on to a traumatic event, and it's a very strong emotion, a lot of times it's not necessarily the person holding on to that trauma, it's the trauma holding on to that person. And so if you're a person that has a lot of trauma and everyone's telling you to let it go, let it go, let it go, it's impossible if the trauma has got a hold of you and it's holding you. And so that's where you have to have that connection to your true self, where you can make a command and not just let the trauma go, but force it out by commanding it to go. Or use, people around you that, resources like people like myself. When I work with people, I don't just clear their energy. I clear the energy for them in their space, but then I work on, there's about a dozen different things I do from a healing standpoint to clear things out. I remove, old past traumas. I cut a bunch of connections. I rebalance things. I remove blockages. There's so many aspects to it, but having someone like me do that for someone isn't necessarily just a one-off. They have to put work in themselves. And what I mean by that is taking time for themselves and working on their inner balance. You can't just have someone fix something and go on. I like to use this analogy. Everyone understands how computer systems work. And if your computer is sick and has these bugs and viruses, and you take it to the computer store and they fix everything and you get it back, if you keep running the same programs, going to the same websites, you're going to pick up the same bugs and viruses. So it's the same thing with our energetic body. It's like our body is like this superhuman computer, and every once in a while we need to hit the reset button, clear the cache, remove the cookies, free up the memory, get things, when things start running sluggish for us, we have to hit the reset button. And if we pay attention to our body, we can always tell when things aren't right. But the problem is most people are so disconnected from who they are because they're not taking the time to work on their inner balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Herman. So what are some of the common misconceptions that you come across regarding energy healing? People will say, Herman, look, this energy is mine, it's within me or in the environment. You come into the picture, you ask me for your fees, why should I pay you? Help us understand from all these different aspects that you find.
Yeah, so the people that I work with, I don't really solicit my work other than just, through some marketing. But my marketing directs people to my website, and if they like what they're seeing, then they reach out to me. So I'm not like necessarily soliciting people to do this work. They're coming to me, and when they come to me, unfortunately, I'm like their last resort because they've tried so many things and they get really desperate. And it's hard for people to grasp that someone can do this work remotely, because I do it remotely and I work with people all over the world. And so it's really hard. And then you have people say, well, does it really work? Is it a placebo effect? Like I take a placebo pill or something? And the answer to that is absolutely not. And I have case studies because I keep track of everything I've done over the years. And I started out, I'll just give you a quick example. My very first client was a 5-year-old boy. The mother hired me. The 5-year-old was, ever since he was 2 years old, was having nightmares every single night. He was too afraid to walk down the hall by himself to go to the bathroom. He had to sleep in his parents' room. He just had all this fear. And they heard about me through some friends. I worked on the kid, and you're not going to tell your 5-year-old, hey, we're going to have your energy cleared. No, they just pay me to do the job. I clear this kid's energy. I've never met him. I just get his first name, and instantly, no more nightmares. The fear just instantly left. So we can sit here and say, we can't say it's placebo because the kid didn't know I was working with him. And we can't say it was something that was he owned inside of himself, part of him, because when I did the work of extracting these entities, so to speak, or these energetic parasites, as I call them, it fixed the issue. And I've worked with thousands of people, that have struggled with anxiety, depression, fear, hearing voices, all these little things that you don't even think about it until it happens to you. Imagine if you're having a nightmare every single night and it's tormenting your sleep. The less sleep you have, the more worn down you are, and it becomes this compounding effect of getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it implodes on itself. So those are the people that reach out to me, the people that are really hurting, and it feels good to be able to help people get through that. And by the way, at the end of the whole process, the key to my work is connecting people back to their true authentic self. That's really the key to my work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me understand it from this way. How do you identify negative energies in either individuals? You also work with a lot of businesses. So from
Mhm.
also from businesses environment, how does that work? And how is it? Is it the same thing? They come to you and tell you this is, I feel that there is negative energy, or is it that you go out and find it out? And what's the difference between those people who deal with ghosts, and those are also energies, or all those things that we see in movies and in every other place? Help us understand also from that point in view.
Yeah, well, all those energies are essentially the same. The stuff you're seeing in the movies, it's a little sensationalized, for the box office, but some of it's somewhat accurate. These energies are, they really try to possess people, and in most cases, it's not as dramatic as the movie. It's just small things like hearing these voices and slowly being manipulated to go down this path instead of what your real path is. But to me, all the energies, to me, they're parasites. And now, from businesses that I work with a number of different businesses. But think about it a little bit like this: when you own a business, you set your intention to be, I'm going to do A, B, and C. And that's your intent when you open the business. When you open the business, you have employees, and all of a sudden, your intention of what you want with your business isn't A, B, and C or more. It's maybe D, E, and F, or X, Y, and Z, but you really want it to be A, B, and C. What happens is these energies, they manipulate your connection to what I call your intention. So if you don't have this unwavering intent for doing what you want with your business, it's going to get away from you. And so when I work with businesses, I simply work on the ownership or the management, and work on the individual's energy and the business entity. But the biggest thing I'm doing is I'm clearing the connection from the person's intent, from what they expect for their business. And I'll just give you a quick little example. One of the easiest businesses for me to work in is the world of real estate. So you have realtors trying to sell homes, and when you walk into a building or a home, you can tell if something doesn't feel good. It's just not nice when you walk into a place with a heavy environment. So I have a lot of realtors that come to me and say, hey, can you work on my listings? And I clear the homes for them, and then the homes tend to sell. And one of the interesting things is I've had a lot of cases where homes have been on the market for years and they haven't sold. And then someone will come to me and I'll be like, this home, because they just give me the address, and it's like a sense of knowing. It's not like I see it or feel it. It's like a sense of knowing. And I'll be like, this home has some sort of a curse, on the home or the property. So I remove the curse and clear the home, and then the home typically sells within 30 to 90 days when it's been sitting on the market for, a year plus. So I hope that answered your question. It was kind of a long way around.
Absolutely, absolutely. You explained it well, especially in the real estate. In India also, we do a lot of this whole prayers or those Vastu Kala, Vastu Shastra and all those things, especially in terms of homes and businesses also. You see the direction and everything. I don't personally believe it. Even even in podcasting, it's a live show. We hardly talk before that, just a couple of exchange of messages. But what is the guiding force for me personally? It is the energy that I feel with it. Means both can be very good people, but with guests and hosts, it may not, the energy may not match in terms of what each one wants, or what or even for without any reason. So that thing, personally, I believe it. When I'm hosting, I have to ask things also from the audience's point of view, and that is where, my next question is to understand the connection between energy and mental health. And you also talk about sleep. How does that come into the picture in this? You solve that, talking about sleep without medication.
Yeah, so let's talk about the mental health aspect of it now. And I'm from the Western world, and so in the Western world, let's say you have a couple kids. The kids go to school. You have a boy. He's a little hyperactive, and the parents can't really calm him down. They go to the doctor. They prescribe him a pill. The pill is like, for ADHD or whatever it may be. And so these pills are getting prescribed. And when someone takes a drug, and I don't care what drug it is, when you take a drug, it's going to dumb down your energy, right? And when your energy's weak, you're more susceptible. So by giving your child this pill, it's going to create more energetic issues. And so say he starts out at 5 or 6 years old, he starts taking a pill like Ritalin or something. And then it doesn't work so well, then they up the dosage. And then next thing you know, the kid's having some psychological issues, so they put him on an antidepressant. Next thing you know, by the time he's early adolescence, teenage years, he's hearing voices and he's got all this stuff because he's been on drugs for most of his life that have been dumbing his energy down. And so to me, there's a big connection between mental illness and energetic parasites, because I'm here to tell you those energetic parasites, they manipulate your thoughts and your emotions. And if I'm being guided by my thoughts and emotions as I go through life, I want to be guided by my thoughts and emotions that aren't being manipulated by an outside energy. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids, they get diagnosed early and then they get on this drug program. And the next thing you know, by the time they're early adults are going in and out of psychiatric hospitals. And it's just wrecked their lives. And so to me, there's a big connection between these entities or energies connecting to people and the mental health. And they try to attack us when we're most vulnerable. And the sleep thing is huge, because think about it like when you're charging, your computer or your phone. If you watch videos on your phone all day, your battery starts to drop. You have to recharge your phone. Well, when we sleep, that's recharging our own internal batteries. And so the two go hand in hand. So if you're being attacked at sleep by nightmares or sleep paralysis or whatever it may be, or you can't fall asleep simply because you have thoughts that are running nonstop. And so my work is about getting rid of all the noise, getting rid of the chatter, the constant thoughts, and getting rid of these things that are creating the nightmares and the sleep paralysis. And then when you start to get a good night's sleep, guess what? You're going to become stronger energetically, and it's going to be harder for these energies to manipulate you because you're not worn down. So that's really my view on that whole thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking of batteries recharging and all, so you do a lot of work with individuals and businesses. That can be also a lot of, energy draining stuff for you. How do you keep your energy intact, replenish it, recharge it, and continue to help clients all across the world?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because when I started doing this work, it all came instinctively. Everything I do came, from within me. So there was no handbook or no training program on how to do this. And when I started doing it, I was getting hammered by this stuff. I was clearing out people who was coming to me. And so I had to really figure out a way to keep myself clear. And everything that I was just talking about is working on your inner balance and becoming stronger energetically. It's harder for these entities to attach. And so for me, if I don't do my breath work and work on my own mental health by taking time for me, then I'm not going to be any good at helping you. Here's a quick example. I know we don't have a lot of time, but when you ride on an airplane and they give you the safety briefing, they say, put on your mask before you put on your child's mask. Well, the same thing goes, like, how am I going to help anyone if I can't take care of my own self? And that goes for everyone, because there are so many people out in the world that are so busy helping everyone else, they forget to take care of their own energy. And so to me, I have to work on my inner balance so I stay strong energetically, or I couldn't do this work, or I wouldn't be very effective in this work. So it takes a lot of self-care to stay protected. And even when I have the self-care, I know when I'm being attacked or something attaches, because I've figured out my body has all these tell signs for me. If I get a super sharp pain right here on the left forehead, someone's attacking me energetically. If my left ear starts ringing off the hook when I walk into a building, there's negative energy in the building. As soon as I clear the building when I walk in, the ringing stops. It's like, so over the years, I've gotten better at the signs, and everyone's body gives us these signs. We just don't know what they are because we haven't quieted our minds. Everyone's operating out of this ego space, and the key is trying to get back down here into your true essence, your heart space. And so inner balance for me is the biggest thing that keeps me going. Otherwise, I would just be inundated all the time and couldn't help anyone if I can't help myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. That brings me to the, that you talk about the true self. How did you figure out what is your true self? Should people figure out what is their true self? People keep on talking. Let it be. I want to understand your understanding of this. And how do you figure out what is their true self so that you bring their energy compass to that particular point?
Well,
Anything mismatch will not work. Help us understand from these 3 points of view.
Well, I could never tell anyone what their true self is here to do or what it's meant to do. And so my job here, my mission here is clearing the pathway for them to connect. And the only way you can do that is take time, sit in silence, meditate, pray, whatever, but just try to silence your mind and sit still. And you'd be amazed at how much information you can get when you sit still. But the problem that we have, I'm telling you, is these energetic parasites, because they're rampant. They're all over everybody. And so it's hard to connect. And I'll go back to one more analogy, an internet connection. You and I are a little older, so we remember when the internet first came out. It was super slow. It was dial-up speed. You'd hear the modem working. Most people's connection to their true self is dial-up. When we're in the world of fiber connection, you can get a whole gig or more of connection. So why not have broadband to connect to who you are versus the dial-up? And my job is to help people get rid of the dial-up and get broadband in their, supercomputer of their body. So.
Absolutely. That brings me to our last question of the day, is about remote clearing. How do you do that? Because I thought environments in two different places are two very different things. You are in your environment, that person is in that environment. You can't sniff that environment from your environment, and still you are able to do it. How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's really a gift, and it starts like this. So we're all connected. We've been taught our whole life that we're all separate, individual, and we're all connected. Energetically, we're all connected to everything. And so how it works for me when I do my work is I have this strong sense of intention. And so when I do my work, I set my intent to connect to that person and do the job that I need to do. And when I do the job I need to do, I don't even need to know where they live. I don't need their address when I'm clearing them in their space. And I know it sounds crazy hearing it like this, but my results speak for themselves. I've had so many people, question me on how can you do this? This is fake, it's not real. But I've had so many positive results. I have clients that have been with me for a few years, that are on a membership program where they can text me or email me anytime. I have this client in Scottsdale, Arizona in the States. She texts me today and says her son, I won't say his name, asked if she can text me, Herman. This is a 4-year-old boy saying, hey, I see something in our house. Can you text Herman and have him get rid of it? This is coming from a 4-year-old boy. I get a text like that from them, every couple months or whatever. It's not that often. But when I first started working with them, it was like every day for the first week. And so So it's really hard to explain other than saying we're all connected. And since we're all connected, I just set my intent to do what I want to do to clear the energy for those people. And it's pretty quick work.
Absolutely, absolutely, Herman. So, in a nutshell, I want to understand your, anything that you would want to tell individuals, businesses about what you do, how you can help them, especially anything that could not be reflected in my questions, and you want to share that with the audience.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, and your questions have been really good. I do appreciate that. So I help people in all walks of life. Mostly, I work on families, individuals, and families. And every time I work on a person, I work on the place. The business thing is a whole separate thing that I don't really market. When I talk to people, they ask me about stuff, and then I pitch them the business stuff. So the business stuff isn't as important to me as the individuals, because we got to get the individuals right. And so and the pitch is basically just hitting the reset button, reconnect you to who you truly are. It's if you go to my website, shoot me an email through the contact page. I'm happy to have a free 15-minute consultation explaining what I can do for you. But if you're someone that's suffering from regular headaches, I fix a lot of migraines. I have clients that'll say, I feel a migraine coming on. I can fix the migraine almost instantly, because it's usually an energy block somewhere. If you're having trouble with sleep, anxiety, depression, mind chatter, hearing voices, or you just feel like you're so disconnected, you don't know where to go, drop me a line, and I'm happy to have a conversation, and I can explain what I would do for you specifically, to help you, get rid of all of this noise that's around you, so that you can connect and work on your own inner balance. Because the key is, get you in the position so that you can do what you're here to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, Harman. So you talked about your website, you talked about dropping a line. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, so hermanpetrick.com, and just shoot me an email. I've never been big on social media. I've had to join a few recently, which I've never really liked. So I have like an Instagram I don't use much. I have a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel you guys might find very helpful. I set the YouTube channel up years ago for my clients. So when I work on them, I send them an email, say, this is what I did. And a lot of them don't know what I mean when I'm saying. So I have little instructional videos on what I did, like what is a soul tie, what is a cord connection, what is an implant, all of the stuff that I work on. What is soul retrieval, because I do, soul retrieval work for some people as well. So my YouTube channel has some good information on it about the healing work that I do. But my website's probably the best place to reach me, because you can just shoot me an email.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.